first step before we get to block sanding this car is we're going to coat the whole car with the guide coat. It's again the Sim Products. It's just a black guide coat. Obviously, if you use a black primer, you don't want to use a black guide coat because you can't see it. But anyhow, this is going to help us to see any low spots in the primer as we block sand it, so we can go ahead and do our slight repairs that we need on them, and then apply a little bit more primer to cover in our sanding scratches. As you can see, I've started on the hood already. So really all you do is you just mist this over the car like so. You just want to put a light coating of this on. You don't want to have any buildup of this. It's just there to help you see any areas that still need attention. So this is all you do. Just go along the whole car, anywhere you've got primer that you're going to block sand, and get everything just one coat on here. Let it set up. Dries really fast, so you can pretty much get to sanding on this in about 15 minutes. But I'm going to let this set probably a day. I may start blocking on this car tomorrow while I'm waiting on the other parts that we painted on the Monte Carlo front end to start to get dried, so I can tape on them to do the rest of the color coats on them. So the fun begins now. Final block sanding on our Monte Carlo project. One of the other areas that I have to get cleaned up and ready for new paint is all underneath along the pinch weld area and the very bottom part of these panels. And I didn't do this prior because this really doesn't get any body work done to it. There was no damage down here anywhere on the car. The rockers were never hit or dinged, and the backs of the quarters were never hit. So basically, all this needs is the paint stripped, cleaned up, and then when I do a final epoxy seal on this car, these areas will get coated. What I'll do is when I start to do the car, I'll go around and do one coat on the bottom first. Then I'll seal off the car, come back and do a second coat on the bottom, so it's got two good coats of epoxy on it for coverage. And that'll leave these ready for paint. Now the way we're going to clean these is 3M has a pad that I use. It's a Scotch, that's basically it's a heavy duty Scotch-Brite on a wheel. This one's a little bit different than this one, but they're the same thing. It basically goes on to my small grinder, my 3-inch grinder that's got the adapter on it, and it just screws into that. And it just goes. You just go along and you'll clean and strip all the paint off of here, and that'll leave it nice and cleaned up. No paint, no rust, no nothing. And then we can, like I said, we can come back and just wipe it down, give it a couple coats of epoxy, and she'll be good to go. Alright, just to give you a look at how this finishes out once you get done with that clean and strip disc. As you can see, we've got some nice clean metal. That little bit of paint that stays in the factory spot welds isn't really going to hurt anything. We still get good adhesion there. But so I'm going to have to go around the rest of the car on the bottom sides of the underside of the rockers. As you can see, they'll all need to be cleaned up too. Around the other side of the car, the same thing. And then we can start with the normal block sanding process, which I think I'm going to do while this car is in the air on the lift, so I don't have to bend down to get all these lower sections, and I'll be able to get a better view of any areas that pop up that may need some attention. Also our wheel wells, wheel well lips here, really didn't get any fill primer on them. They just got some epoxy primer because they had a rough finish from the factory where you saw all the spot welds. They were never finished off. So we'll finish them off the same way, and we'll we'll just give those a scuff and probably give those another 2 coats of epoxy. Also, when we do the bottoms of the rockers, we'll go around each of the wheel lip openings and get some good epoxy coverage on those just to protect against any rock chips that might happen. Well, it's black. I actually recorded some this morning while it was still gray, and then when I looked at my camera later today, I noticed the mic was off. So I'll probably insert a little bit of that video from this morning, but there's no audio. Anyhow, what I was said during that video this morning was that I had the car all ready. I did the final sanding with the 400 grit on the DA. Everything came out really nice. Got a nice smooth finish ready for the epoxy primer. And as you can see, the car is now in a seal coat of epoxy primer. Now this is the same primer I used when we got finished with the stripping process and we had the bare metal. I just put a little bit of reducer, about 10% reducer, into my DP90 epoxy primer, and it flows out a little nicer, a little smoother finish for a good seal coat. But this does 2 things. 1, it seals everything up, and 2, any bare metal areas that you broke through on when doing the final sand are now have a good base with this epoxy to adhere to them on. So this is ready. It's been setting up now for about an hour and a half. I only put 1 coat on, and the requirement according to the manufacturer is 30 minutes on 1 coat before top coating. So I'll go back over the car with a tack rag, get anything off of it that may have fallen during the drying process. I got my paint mixed up. I'll get my gun ready, get suited up, and get in and get some color on it. Okay, we have got base color on. Everything looks pretty good. Not too much in it, trash wise. A couple pieces here and there. I'm sure it'll look worse once I start putting clear coat on it. It always does. But that's what you get. I think it oriented out pretty good as far as the metallics laying down. It's kind of hard to tell, because once this dries, when this dries, it kind of mats out and you really can't even see a metallic in it. I had 2 places on the hood that I wasn't happy with. There was a spot here where there was something in the paint, and I tried to get it out with a piece of tape, and it just pulled the paint off. So I let it dry, and then I went back over it with some 1000 grit and just sanded it down really light to work that out, and then just blew a coat back over top of it. Same thing here. There was a small piece of trash in it, and I just kind of sanded that down and did the same thing, just dusted some color back over top of it so it blends back in. The rest of the car looks pretty good. So we are going to go ahead and put some clear coat on this and hope for the best. Alright, it's the next day after paint application. I just got done unwrapping the car, and I'm not too disappointed with it. It came out pretty nice. There are a few areas where I got some runs in it, and that was mainly due to the temperature. Last night the temp dropped down to probably the mid to low 50s by the time I was getting a clear coat on the car. So that will affect the flow out of the paint. It causes it to stay softer longer. instead of drying quicker and stopping that flow process, that's where you get the runs from. But what can you do? I can't control the weather, and I don't have a heated booth, so it is what it is. So let's take a look at the car. Everything again came out pretty nice. I got some run here in it, a little bit here off on the mirror hole, and again around the door handles areas. This is always a hard area. You get runs here a lot because of the way the paint lays. You get extra paint that lays in here, and then it wants to flow and it runs down and you get your run. But everything came out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with the way the color laid down. The orientation of all the pearls looks good. And it's hard to tell just how much pearl is in this paint because it looks dark unless it's out in the sun. But when you see it, like you can on this side with these lights, I mean, just look at how that pops. That red is just going to look spectacular outside in the sun. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I'll have to fix a couple of these areas around the door handles and whatnot before it goes home to the owner. I got good coverage inside my door jambs and along the edges of my hood. Got some trash in the hood, which, you know, this thing will come back in the springtime and it'll get a full sanding and buffing, which will take out any of the imperfections that just happen to get in the clear, which is kind of inevitable when I'm not spraying in a professional booth. But hey, I get a pretty good job for what I've got. So I'm going to end this series here, and I'm going to do a short video on how to make those repairs on the runs. I've got some tips and tricks that you can try at home that'll help you from keep sanding through your clear coat, or it'll give you a little bit more insurance that you don't sand through your clear coat when trying to sand out the runs on a panel. So we're gonna do that in a separate video, but we're gonna end this one here. And again, I want to thank everybody who's been following along, subscribing, and leaving me comments. It's really helping me grow. My channel's up to about 330 subscribers now, and I've got over 1,000 watch hours on all my videos. So I really appreciate it. The more I can get the channel to grow and get to monetization means that I start to gain income from YouTube. And what that income is going to allow me to do is to make improvements here in the shop and add some new tools that I've been looking at getting. One of them is a full face air-fed mask for when I'm painting, because the clear coat that I used on this car is pretty wicked. I haven't had my eyes burned from a paint that I've used in a long time, and my eyes actually are still bothering me today from it. So yeah, I need to upgrade some of the equipment that I've got here. I want to do some more improvements to the booth with my lighting. So any monies that I get in from monetization from YouTube, that's where that's all going to go. It's going to help my shop, help me bring you better video, better content. Again, thanks for following along. Share the videos, hit that like button, leave me some comments. If you like the outcome of the car, if you don't like the outcome of the car, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'll try and post some pictures of it to my Facebook, or maybe do a really short video once I get the wheels and tires back on it and take it outside in the sun, so you can really see just how well this paint looks when it is outside, because it's a really nice color. So we're going to move on with some other projects we got to get back on here in the shop that I kind of put aside to get this car done real quick. And we're going to keep bringing you more and more videos. See you soon.